Hello, friends. I'm sitting in the parking lot. I'm going to share some thoughts with all of you. There's this cute little catchy song that comes up on my liked songs on my Spotify sometimes. And it's called Marry Me Archie by Always, but it's Alvvays. It's a cute, fun song. But I've had to turn it off because it makes me cringe a little bit because, by the way, if my nose is running, many apologies. There's allergies and I'm trying to not be gross on camera here. Don't, and I was gonna say ladies, but also, guys too. Do not beg the person you're with to marry you. It's not a good idea. I did it. My husband and I are working through some stuff. We're not giving up on each other, but it's been a bumpy road. I was, I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have a family. I loved him. I still love him. I say loved past tense. It's kind of harsh, kind of brutal, Leah. But I did beg him, and he was unsure. And, because he had had a marriage before, maybe he had a more realistic perspective on that level of commitment in a relationship and the difficulties that come with it than I did. I was probably more naive about it. But don't beg the person you're with to marry you, okay? If they want to marry you, they'll marry you. Marriage is a lifelong commitment. Really, that's the idea, when you're marrying for the right reasons. And it's gonna get difficult. I'm just gonna let you know. You will have times where it's really hard. And you'll probably end up with kids together. And then you have even more duty and responsibility in that partnership. And so be careful with that. If you're in a relationship and you want to get married and the other person is hesitant, give them space. Maybe go do your own little, self-assessment journey and decide, is this person the one that I want to marry? Take that one really seriously. So as fun and cute as that little song is, just a word of caution, word to the wise here, friends. Don't beg the person you're with to marry you. I don't regret anything. I don't regret marrying my husband. It's just been really hard and painful, and there's been some I won't share personal details, you guys, because I'm going to respect him, and there's other people involved that I am not even going to say anything about. But I'm going to tell you, there have been some challenges in my relationship that I didn't expect, that are not normal challenges. Maybe they are normal challenges, but people just don't talk about it. I don't know, but it's been really difficult. And my husband and I have been kind of in a reassessment phase. We haven't given up on each other. But it's been really challenging and painful. And I want to kind of talk a little bit about culturally the way that marriage is viewed and kind of what I think about where we're at culturally, societally. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word. So I view it as we are in this transition phase as far as humanity goes, and we are transitioning out of a patriarchal society, ideally into a society where the two energies are balanced, and not into a matriarchal society, because again, that's unbalanced. But the patriarchal way of marriage was the women were subservient to the man in the marriage. That's really, ultimately, that's how it was. Was it the Prozac 1960s housewife kind of generation? Really, that's not salacious to say that was how it was. The man of the house, the man was I don't subscribe to that idea. That feels yucky to me. Ideally, in your partnership, you want the energies to, however it works for things to be balanced out. And the power, quote unquote, in the relationship shouldn't be more in the hands of one person over the other. It's a tricky thing, trying to sort out and balance that out with another person and figure out where honestly assess, okay, where is the imbalance? How can we, that's a whole other. But what's happened now, the feminist movement in the 1960s had a place, and I appreciate all those women who were willing to stand up and say, we're not going to be your little bitches anymore. So that had a place. That's a good thing. I'm not going to, get all worked up about how, oh, the feminists have ruined everything, like some people. There's balance with that. With that, we need to be careful, and we don't want to overcorrect. But where the hell was I going with that? Oh, I remember. So with that, divorce became more accepted, more normal. Women had more agency in the relationship to say whether they wanted to stay or whether they wanted to go. And again, that's a good thing. It used to be if you were in an abusive marriage, like a lot of women were, you didn't really have a choice to get out. And I've seen this strange phenomenon with a lot of older women, like my grandparents' generation, who go completely blind to abuse within families because I think it was just a coping mechanism. Like there was no other way to get by on that. And so a lot of women just operated that way. But what's happened here with this acceptance of divorce, and I do think it has a place, is I think that the value on a committed relationship with, now the marriage is just a legal binding to another person. I don't really think that the marriage itself is what's so sacred necessarily. It's that the commitment that the two people make to each other. That's what the sacred part is. The marriage, the legal part, has some other benefits to it, like power of attorney if someone's dying, things like that. But it's the commitment that the two people make that I think is sacred. And I do think, because I will admit, because I am a human being, I have my own shadows that I've been working through for a long time in my relationship. Because what happens when in these intimate relationships, these romantic relationships, is that it is the best way to trigger those deep childhood wounds. The best way to do it is get into a committed romantic relationship with somebody. You really want to dredge that shit up. That's how you do it. So it can be the most painful thing to go through with another person emotionally. I'm sure we've been doing it to each other all these years. And so certainly my deep, deep innermost painful wounds from childhood have been triggered by my spouse. And there have been times that this has happened in my relationship, and my God, it hurts so much. I just want to bolt. And so there have been times in those moments where it's so painful, and I'm just like, I can't do this. I have to leave, which triggers his abandonment wounds, his maternal abandonment wounds. So it's this crazy back and forth of these things. And so, I think growing up, it was normal to see relationships not working out. It was normal to see divorce. And so I think we do need to be kind of careful with that. I think as a society, we do need to be better about valuing commitments, and the commitment that you make with another adult, and when you have children with them, that is sacred. And I know I haven't been perfect in my relationship, but I've also not been not perfect, okay? There's a lot that I've done right. And I'm making the choice, my husband and I are making the choice, okay, we're going to work on this. It's hard, it's painful, there's some really heavy stuff. Again, I can't talk about it. When you have kids involved and nobody's being physically abused in the situation, emotional abuse, that's a gray area. What is emotional abuse really? Oh my God, there's this show on Showtime that I want to watch. I think it's called Couples Therapy or something. I heard about it on the radio yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, I need to watch that. But essentially, I do think culturally there is this shift that we need to be careful about with this freedom to choose divorce in a situation. That commitment to your spouse and your kids has become less important to a lot of people. The freedom to choose needs to be there. But also, maybe as a society, we should really start to rethink that importance, because I know that there's been people around my husband and I who I feel haven't given us the support we need to really, I don't know how to put it. The way I see it at this point is, when you have kids, that relationship you have with their parent is important. It is a big deal. Ideally, those kids do benefit if you can get along with that person and stay with that person. It's not easy. It's really not. But it's nice when you can get support from the people around you. And that's not to say that we haven't gotten any from people around us. There's been a lot of pressure, a lot of weight. And I think there's that culturally, I think people are really losing sight of what's important. So I think that's it for my little rant on relationships. You know, to sum it up, friends, don't beg your partner to marry you. It's a big deal, because once you bring those kids into the picture, everything changes. And then also looking at commitment, looking at how we see commitment as a society, looking at how we value commitment. Not condemning people who choose to not stay together, but also really, really taking a hard look at, like, the importance of that relationship working out. Anyway, I'm going to go into Petco and buy some stuff for my pets. Have an awesome day.